Good morning and welcome. You made a great choice to get up this morning and come and join us here at Open Door Center for Spiritual Living. It's always wonderful to see all of you who are coming back and to see those of you who are new. Yeah. Our community is growing. Yeah, it's pretty profound. So, my talk this morning is entitled A Consciousness of Wholeness. I will do it. What does that mean? Well, we're going to get into that in a moment. Okay? I think that all of us here are aware that we are in this experience, that we are spiritual beings. We're in this experience of having a human body, of living on this mud ball, if you will, this thing called Earth, for a reason, and that reason has a lot to do with growth. It has a lot to do with changing over a period of time our consciousness and our understanding and our level of awareness, not only about ourselves, but about our interactions with others, about what this experience of life means, and about what all of this stuff is. It's all pretty much a quandary sometimes, isn't it? So we're here, and we're here for a reason. We're here for the reason to grow. And so let's look here about what I have to say about that. Probably, there are as many places in human consciousness that we could go to as there are people. That's a pretty big kind of field. It's sort of kind of like God, try to define it, and it gets messy. But if we try to define consciousness, really, and we look at what Science of Mind says that is, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, tells us that consciousness is essentially our mental awareness. And again, it has to do not just with our awareness of ourselves, but all of it, the whole spectrum of life, the good, the bad, if you will, the ugly, all of that. And what does wholeness mean? Well, I've got a quote for that. Ernest again tells us that when we speak of the whole, and he capitalizes that word, that's a W, isn't it? This is V, that's a W. Okay. When we capitalize that word, we're speaking of God. It says, so when we speak of the whole, we are speaking of God. So when we're talking about the consciousness of wholeness, we are really talking about the consciousness of God, or God consciousness. And what does that mean? That's, again, a pretty big topic. The whole idea of wholeness in itself is pretty interesting. Many, many years ago, in the development, if you will, of where we are now, of the things that brought us to where we are now in the movement that is called Science of Mind, or Centers for Spiritual Living, there came a point when some of those people who had been doing this stuff for a long time said, we need to begin to teach classes. It's wonderful to have Sunday services, and it's wonderful to get together, it's wonderful to do these things, but the heart of this teaching is really in classwork. So some of those brilliant minds began to work together and put together what we now call certificated classes. And the first one of those to ever come about was a thing called Foundations. And as Foundations was being laid to paper as that vision of helping people understand what Science of Mind is about in a classroom setting where they could learn it, they could take materials home, they could study it, they could read, they could grow from it. As that was happening, one of those ministers, a woman by the name of Linda McNamara out on the West Coast, and her comrades realized, there are key points or cornerstones that this movement, this understanding is made of. And so they identified 10 core concepts. And wholeness is one of those. There are 9 others, and one of these days we'll talk about something else that falls into that category. But wholeness is one of our 10 core concepts. So when we talk about wholeness, you guys, we really are talking about the all of everything. In those words, I would capitalize the A and the E in all of everything. That's a huge picture. It is really unlimited. And somewhere in all his magic, mystical writings, Ernest Holmes also tells us that it is relatively not possible to understand the infinite with our finite mind. So if thinking about God makes you go, blah, 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 good, okay? I think that's where we're supposed to go. I think ours is to know what we know in the moment and to figure it out as we go along. This is kind of the DIY, method of spiritual growth, this experience of being here on the earth. So when we talk about consciousness, really we're talking about mental awareness, and we're talking about looking at where we are and looking at the place that we are in consciousness and beginning to understand that. Kind of like if I said to you, we're going to go on a picnic to Water Rock Knob. And no, I don't know where it is, but we'll get out my iPhone or we'll go back and do it the old way and get a paper map and take that, and that map will tell us how to get from where we are to where we want to be. Okay? So inside of a few short minutes, we'll be leaving downtown Sylva and we'll be sitting on Water Rock Knob with our friends from CTC and the SLC. That'll be cool. It'll be fun to go and do that in a couple of weeks. So today we're talking about a map, really, of human consciousness and looking at different places that we've all been to and that we are all going. Okay? And kind of getting an idea about how that shakes down in our lives, what that feels like, what that looks like, and kind of a trajectory. Now, as we do this, it's kind of funny. It's important to recognize that consciousness is not a linear topic. When I say linear, I say go to the end of the parking lot, turn left, at the red light, turn left, get on the intersection, go straight, X number of miles, and then turn left again, right? You'll be on the Blue Ridge Parkway, okay? Those of you who have been up that hill before, the Cuddies came over today, they come from that direction. You know that ride. Mark, you come from that area too, don't you? Yeah, okay? You know that trip. So we begin to look at, the reality that if we leave here and we do this and we do this and we make that turn and we go so many miles, it's a linear idea in our minds. But you can't talk about consciousness in the same way, because consciousness is not linear. It's quantum. And by quantum, I mean it's over here, and then it's back here, and then it moves forward, and then it goes back. It kind of waltzes around, doesn't it? Actually, sometimes it feels like it's tripping over its own feet, but it has an idea. And there's method in that supposed madness. As we look at this, we know that things are not linear, and it's also important to look at it from a place where we realize that there's nothing bad with any place that we might be. That God is in all of those experiences. God is in the stinky stuff, the unpleasant experiences, just as very much as God is in the joy and the exhilaration and the enthusiasm. We teach in this movement that there is no place where God is not. And so we remember that as we go through this little map that we're going to make today about consciousness. We begin to realize that it's all good because it's all God. So there's no place that it can be bad. The first place we're going to talk about today is a place called To Me consciousness. We're going to talk about 4 places in consciousness. Some of you have heard pieces of this before because it's been around for a while. I think Michael Beckwith gifted us with his brilliant understanding of human consciousness. But I love it, and I think it's always worth reminding ourselves. So when we start with To Me consciousness is just exactly what it sounds like. It is that place where we feel like something is being done to us. The boss is doing it to me, or my spouse doesn't like me, or it gets even deeper, the whole world hates me, okay? Poor little me, I'm just going to go eat worms. Well, maybe at some point. Ella didn't like that idea. Let's not go eat any worms. We won't really do that today. But you understand that that's kind of a place where we're in that frame of mind where, we're innocent and the rest of the world is picking on us, right? And we've all been there. I don't care what you say, okay? Now, I owned property at that address. In fact, I had, quite a few acres, I think, in that point in consciousness for many, 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 many years, okay? That's a place where some people spend their entire lives, which is kind of sad because it ain't fun. You know, it's pretty dang uncomfortable, really. You know, I don't like being there, okay? Because you know what? I've learned too much in this movement. It's kind of that old saying that they have in Alcoholics Anonymous: if they don't do anything else for you, they'll take the fun out of your drinking. And it's true, okay? You might not stop drinking, but by God, it won't be fun anymore, because every time you pick up that bottle, you'll be going, oh, there's a different way, okay? And I know today that there's a different consciousness. And I also have learned, we've learned together, many of us over the years, that we have tools and ways and means of getting out of that, you know. Now, I want to say something before we leave Toomey, though, because I think Toomey is a really valuable place to be. If somebody comes up and smacks you upside the head, you should be filled with the feeling of being wronged, okay? It is not appropriate to just love and bless them. If you like pain, I want to talk to you as soon as we get this done, okay? Because that's just not normal, you know? It's just not normal. It really isn't, okay? And those feelings of, oh, poor me, okay? Or of being angry at a situation, or of being afraid or worried, or whatever the negative, I don't like that word, I didn't mean to use that word, the uncomfortable emotion is, all serve a purpose. Okay? They all serve a purpose. I believe that if we embrace that place, rather than trying to get away from it, we know, you guys know, we've talked about this before, what we resist persists. Yes, it does. Okay? So if we try to push it away, what are we doing? We're creating more, we're buying more land in that place, really, okay, in the end. Anytime we frame something up as something we don't want and we try to get away from it, okay? So rather than run away from it, embrace it, okay? Embrace it. You know, I used to not like my ex-husband. Now, he and I were married, obviously, okay? And we were married for, 4 or 5 years, long enough. Okay, long enough, thank you God. Okay, for me to learn so much, it was tremendous. I loved the guy just because of the stuff I got out of that relationship, But it didn't end, pretty. There's no nice way really to, go your separate ways. And there was a lot of ill will and some unhappy feelings and all that. But here's the thing: you can divorce somebody, but you can't really divorce your own child. Okay, and we had a kid. And she was a little kid. She was a baby, okay? And I had to learn that this guy, I came so close to saying, God, do something with him, okay? And then I realized one day, you're going to raise this kid alone if he's out of the picture. Is that what you want for yourself? Do you have the right to take that away from her? Whether he's, good, quote, bad, or indifferent. And I realized I didn't, So over a period of time, because I had to, I kept getting forced to be in that relationship with him, okay? And it was like sandpaper on, sunburn. It wasn't fun, okay? It wasn't fun at all, And slowly, what I learned is, as I healed, okay? Because I allowed myself, with the tools I've learned, okay, as a spiritual being living a human experience, to work through those feelings. Okay? And I'm telling you, I got more growth out of that experience than probably almost anything else in my life. Okay? He and I went on to create a situation where that child was dealing with some very life-threatening stuff. And we worked together like adults. And for that, I have no words. It was that special for me. Okay? That I was capable enough through the teachings that I have learned to be there, to get out of myself enough. And so that Toomey stuff served me better than almost any other place. Okay? Toomey is the gateway for all the rest of what we're going to talk about. When we look at layers of consciousness or places of consciousness, the next thing we'll talk about is by me consciousness. And what happens when we are willing to do the spiritual work that to me puts in our face, we learn that we have the tools and the consciousness and the capabilities of changing our lives. In that experience, we get it that our thought is powerful. We get it that the prayer that we utter, both the conscious ones and maybe even more so the unconscious ones, the stuff that's going out the other 23 hours and 49 minutes that we're not actively praying, okay, is really important in creating our world. We begin to recognize that we really do call the shots in how our life unfolds, and that anytime that thing comes up that we feel like something is not working in our lives, it begins to shift, if we embrace it, and it begins to go from to me to by me, okay? In by me consciousness, we get it that we have the ability to change life, to change our expectations and our experiences, and to not only do that for those of us sitting in a room on Sunday like this, okay? And there are many. In fact, this morning in about an hour, Reverend Abigail Shire, who walked in the meadow with me a year ago on August the 1st and got licensed, has her inaugural service somewhere in Menlo Park, I think it is, California. Yeah, we're all out there doing amazing things. We get it that not just the people in Abigail's service, and not just those of us here, but when we do this kind of work, we change everything right there, okay, on that entire planet. That means we change the nature of the lives of the species that are seemingly lesser than we are, like animals. Yeah, it's phenomenal. You want to change this world? Go look in the mirror and do your inner work. That is the way we do it. There's no other way to do it. Okay? Yeah. So we go from to me to by me, and as we get stronger in by me consciousness, as we get more aware of our own potentiality, of our own power in building and creating a world that does work, as Carol mentioned, for everyone, we move into a place that we would call through me consciousness. We get more aware of the divine as the face of everything. And when that stuff comes up, and it will, or we wouldn't be needing to be here anymore, that throws us back into to me consciousness, that causes us to go, oh God, I can't help it, I'm just freaking out. Okay? We begin to go, wait a minute. I haven't been alone in this. I've never been alone in this. I've always walked within the potentiality, the power of something greater than I am. We begin to get it, that divine thing works through us all the time. Sometimes, really, my experience is more when I'm not aware of it, okay, than when I am. More when I'm not asking it or beseeching it or, going, come on, God, do your stuff, Let's see what we can do to change the world, than when I'm conscious of it. It's pretty amazing. But that's through me consciousness, okay? We get more and more and more aware, let me be the words, let me be the message, let me be the actions, let me be what I came here to be. And that is unlimited. That is pure, in the words of Deepak Chopra, pure potentiality. Yeah. There is no place where God is not. I love that sequence. Many of you have seen the movie The Secret. We should show it again here on a Friday night sometimes, because sometimes it's a great flick. If you haven't seen it, you need to come see it. At one point I would put it on and listen to it real loud on the TV while I was cleaning house, just for the input, okay? So it was going into my head. And I love that sequence where they talk about, and I can't remember his name, he's called the Miracle Man. He's the guy whose plane crashed, and they said, you'll never walk again, you're always going to be, completely crippled, yada, yada, yada. And he said, I will walk out of here on my own power. He wrecked his plane in March. He said, I will walk out of here on Christmas Day. And he did. And in the movie, The Secret, they show him from here down, okay? And they show the edge of his hospital gown halfway down his lower leg, okay? And his little bare feet going out And every time he takes a step, the ground is different. That's God working in your life, okay? Let it keep happening. Put your foot out there. Don't think you know what you are about because you don't have a clue. I don't have a clue about me, okay? Take the lid off that thing. Yeah. At that point, we move into as-me consciousness. And that's the place, yeah, where the divine really shines. That's the place where we are hitting our mark, where we are doing what we came here to do all the time. It's all holy, and it's an awesome place. When we look at as-me consciousness, where do we get to? I got notes here somewhere. This is a place where universal consciousness really takes over. We have come home. We never really left. We realize there is nothing standing in the way of our realization, and that is the only piece here that we ever have to get, is our own personal inner realization that there's no separation between us and that which is that divine thing. We're it. Michael Beckwith on his CDs, that life visioning series, he talks about this to me, by me, through me, as-me consciousness. I love it. And he talks about going out in the woods one day and getting so excited and so connected, okay, and so enthralled with his own personal as-me consciousness that he just ripped off all his clothes, okay. We're naked again like we were last week. Oh my gosh, I did it again. We went right back to naked. Last week, if you weren't here, the title of the message was Naked. So that will be available on YouTube eventually, by the way. So we get into that place where consciousness, where we get it, that consciousness is the thing that heals things. Ernest Holmes has a quote that I love. He tells us that the perception of wholeness, again that's a W with a capital, the perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. That wholeness of consciousness, that God consciousness is where things heal. It's where, like my friend Christy driving down the road one day with her partner, they had a Miata at the time and they had the top open and they were talking about manifesting money, and one of them said to the other, I just know that some money could really fall from the sky, and I'm telling you it actually happened. They were on their way to Florida. Christy's mother was sick and they were going down there to see her, and money just kind of started dropping from the sky. That is not a lie. Okay? Yeah. That is no exaggeration with that. They still don't know how. I know, right? And if you Google it, there's like experiences all over the internet of money just falling out of the sky. Like, okay. So one day I was thinking about that, and I was on my way to the center over in Nashville. This is before we opened up here. And I was thinking, well, you know, what Ernest knew is really true, okay? And that is that if this is true for anyone, then it is true for every one of us, okay? And so if somebody can heal something, anybody, anyone, Wednesday night we watched a DVD piece of Greg Braden and the healing of a woman's bladder cancer inside of 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes 40 seconds, with some spiritual practitioners holding in clarity the truth of her perfect health. Okay, it's an amazing clip, and it's on YouTube if you want to try to find it and watch it. But that's that place where that kind of stuff happens. Okay, that's that place where we only have to know it, and it's ours. It's in form. It's an amazing place.
Is this for paper?
Wonderful stuff.
No.
Yeah. The perception of wholeness is the consciousness of healing. So, last night, I'll share a little story before we close. My Saturday night ritual now is that, you know, I live here in Sylva and I have public television. And then I watch a lot of canned TV. Most of what I watch is crazy stuff like Sons of Anarchy and things like that. It's really great. I love it. Oh, you're coming to see Marty. Cool. All right. I love your haircut, Ella. That was darling. But so last night, my Saturday night ritual is to watch Joel Osteen. He comes on public television at 8 o'clock. And y'all might be looking at me thinking, what does Joel Osteen have to do with Science of Mind? But if you listen with the ear behind the ear, he is so Science of Mind. Because he is so about encouraging that huge place that he has in Lakewood, Texas, about encouraging the people in that auditorium to live to their highest potential. And it's an amazing message that he gives every week. Some weeks it's, not as science of mind, or I don't find it as science of mind as other weeks. But last night he was phenomenal. And he told a little story, and I'll share it with you as we close. So this guy goes out fishing one day, and he's on the riverbank, and he's enjoying himself. And he notices this older gentleman, this old timer, who's across the river there fishing. And he starts watching the guy. And he sees the guy is catching all kinds of fish. He's just doing a great job over there. And he catches little fish. And when he catches little fish, he puts them in the cooler. And then he'll catch big fish, and he'll throw them back. Okay? And all day this goes on. He catches little fish, he keeps them. He catches big fish, he throws them back. Well, finally the guy's like, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but I have to ask. I see you're keeping the little ones, but you don't, the big ones, you just let them go back. What's that about? And the guy said, oh, well, in my family for years and years and years, all the way back to Grandpa, we had the iron fry pan, the iron skillet. And that skillet has been handed down through my family. Now think about this on a metaphorical level, okay? That skillet is only a 10-inch skillet. That skillet will only hold little fish, okay? That skillet has been in my family. That skillet has been in my mind. That skillet has been in my to-me consciousness all of my life, okay? And before that. So I'm living with a model that is outdated and it works. It'll fry the fish, won't it? But it isn't going to allow me to accept the big stuff in life, okay? How often do we live with a belief system that is holding us back, okay? Because we haven't let go of it. Let go of your little skillets. Let go of that 10-inch sucker. It ain't serving you. And get all of what did the other thing he said was he talked about the woman and the thing of oil. She didn't have anything, but all she had was the container of oil. And the message from the divine was get all of the containers you can find. Get the biggest containers you can find, because this is the brilliance and the bounty and the abundance that I have for you. This gift of life itself. Okay? Will I give you? That's ours. All you have to do is say yes to it. So get rid of your little skillets. Yeah. Get rid of your little mindset. Get rid of your to-me consciousness. Love it. Recognize it. Bless it. It came to serve you. You don't have to live there. Don't buy property. Don't set up camp there. And so we'll close, lastly, with a quote from Rumi that I love, and I know that most of you have heard this. If you don't know, Rumi was a Persian mystic whose poetry is absolutely phenomenal. Rumi tells us, out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Where the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Let's go live in that field together today. I love you.
Thank you.